every single thing that was leaked in the patch came out to be 100% true. Find out what's going on as I hereby summon all my imps to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. So in case you were living under a rock for some reason, the patch that we got today was actually leaked 2 days ago. I didn't report on it then because I don't like to report on things that haven't been confirmed. But every single thing in this patch came to be true. And there's basically only 3 cards that need to be talked about in this patch. You can talk about more cards if you want to, but there's really only 3 in here that you kind of have to look at. And the first one that we kind of have to look at is the Captain America. Captain America got changed from a 3-3 to a 3-2, but while that was going on, he now gives +2 power to all the cards in the lane, but again, even with that change, now it's only to the ongoing cards in the lane. And to be honest about this, I'm glad that they finally changed Captain America. I'm happy that they're willing to take a risk on a card like Captain America, and that they're not holding on to the fact they can't change Captain America because it's an early game card. If you want my honest opinion, it's really hard to look at Captain America and have any hope of it seeing play as long as US Agent is sitting around. US Agent is a 2-3, so it's 1 less cost. It has even 1 more power than Captain America. And on a good day, it gives -4 to an opponent at least once. So for you to get power out of Captain America, just to equal out US Agent hitting once, you have to have 2 other ongoing cards in Captain America's location to meet US Agent hitting once. Technically, you need 3 other cards in there because even though US Agent's only doing 4, because Captain America's 1 power less, you need that 1 extra power. So you need your entire lane filled with ongoing just to meet the power standpoint, or beat the power standpoint of US Agent hitting 1 card in your opponent's lane. Now, is that impossible? No, you can more set up for easy on your side as opposed to having your opponent have to put stuff in their side. But it really speaks volumes when you look at Captain America and you look at the buff it had, and you say, this could have just been the buff without the ongoing on this, and that would have been fine. Just +2 power to any card in this lane would have been fine for Captain America. It's been that long. That would make Captain America roughly a 2-6 no matter what else is on there. And that barely beats the stat points on this days. If you look at Gladiator. So, best case scenario, if you hit Captain America and you get everything good on it, you get a Gladiator with no downside. And that's just putting 3 other cards there. Very happy that they made that change, but very strange that they made that change. Other card that we have to look at. The Leech has died a horrible, horrible fleeting death. Leech changed from a 4-2, got bumped up to a 5-5. Still the same effect. And honestly, it's going to be hard for that to have a home anymore. Because if you look at 5s, there's 5/5s that already exist that aren't seeing play. That's like saying throw Adam Warlock in your deck. Leeching your opponent's hand is equivalent to maybe drawing a card. Now, I think part of this has to come with how Leech is set up and how it really hurts your opponent, because it's one of only 2 cards that I can think of. It's this card and Scorpion that can actually affect your entire opponent's hand. So I might think that somewhere in the future they bring Leech back down to a 4, but it only affects 1 card in your opponent's hand. But not just ongoing or on reveal, making it completely go back to its base sets. Imagine that leech comes out, hits a card in your opponent's hand, and it goes back to its base stats and then is silenced for the rest of the game. So even if you hit like a Red Hulk, the Red Hulk just becomes a 6/9 and can't gain any power, even if it was already a 6/15, 6/20, whatever it was. Interesting card to have as a leech in the future, but right now, as a 5/5, not sure this is seeing play. And if you, unfortunately, this almost breaks the Blink deck. Because if you look at the on reveals for 4, here are the on reveals that you have with 4. I'll even turn on ones I don't own. What are you hoping to get with the on reveals on 4? Drax? Hoping that you hit with the Drax? That's not doing much for you. Nick Fury? Is that worth it? Maybe a Silver Samurai and hope for the best? Can't use Super Guardian because it'll mess up the Blink. Beta Ray Bill? And then you're throwing a hammer in your deck and messing up your draws, maybe? White Queen? No. I mean, what are you hoping for? I know, you're hoping for the new Sentry, where you get it out as a 4/8 and leave the demon up. Because then you pop out of the Sentry and leave the demon up. You have no way of popping over the Sentry in that mode. Speaking of Sentry, Sentry got the weirdest buff/nerf/lateral move ever. Kind of needed to happen to Sentry. The Sentry Annihilus stuff has been kind of going nasty for a while. But Sentry got changed from a 4/10 to a 4/8, and the Demon got a quote-unquote buff to going from a 4-10 to a 4-8. Now, technically, this is a nerf for the Void, because the whole idea is to send over the Void and really hurt your opponent with that. Now, I have one possible change for the Void that might help it out in the future, and I have one possible concern with what they might be doing in the future. The change that you can do with the Void is instead of making it a 4-H, you make it a 4-1, and you just give it the static ability of plus -9, so it would have -9 more power, so it'd be a 4-10 as long as it was on your side of the field. So as soon as you shift it over with the Annihilus, it becomes a 4-1 at that point and loses that aura effect. Because here's my concern. I think the reason they couldn't change the Annihilus is because what they're going to do with it is they're going to give it the Shuri effect, and they couldn't do that with an OTA patch. They're going to make it so that Annihilus can only shift over what's in his lane. So that way, if you know that you're playing Annihilus, you just put your Cosmo in the 3rd lane and you don't have to worry about it. Kind of worried that's where they're going with this. Only other card that you really got to look at this week, other than those 3, is Werewolf by Night. Werewolf by Night got a big buff. It went from a 4/4 down to a 3/1, but it does everything exactly the same otherwise. Getting this on 3 is huge. If you were to move this down to 3 and change this just to a 3/3, it would have been a powerful card. Losing 2 points of power does not really hurt Werewolf by Night. I think you're going to see more werewolves show up. The nice thing to do on 3. Other things that have changed in this particular patch, Baron Mordo had a change on it. Still 2/3. No longer will draw a card for your opponent. It will simply set the top card that they draw, the next card that they draw, to have 6 cost. Now, that 6 cost will stay on that card all the way up until the start of turn 6. I know this is worded very interestingly, but on turn 6, if they had a Nightcrawler On turn 5, that Nightcrawler will still be 6 cost, but on the start of turn 6, that Nightcrawler will go back to 1. And if you limbo, on turn 7, that Nightcrawler will still be 1. So, interesting change to Baron Mordo. Hope that this guy gets a little bit more playing him. I will say this, I tested him a few times against an average deck, and you'd be surprised the number of times that he still doesn't work because the next card that you draw is a 6-drop card, or you just don't get him by enough of a turn. Getting him on turn 5 doesn't really do much. Playing him down on turn 5 doesn't do much. And him just being a 2-3 on its own is kind of a weak play, considering now on 2s, if you go through power, you can basically get an easy 2-4, 2-5 sometimes. There's nothing wrong with getting a cloak early game. You're looking at Quake-like stats if it doesn't hit right. You're looking at Falcon-like stats if it doesn't hit right. You might be better off just playing a Cable and stealing the card from them. Yes, you quote-unquote draw them a card, but now you have it. Next change that we had is that Luke Cage got a little bit of a nerf. Went from being a 3-4 to a 3-3. Luke Cage will still see play, doesn't hurt Luke Cage. Just shaving off a point, fine for Luke Cage. Next one that I don't think anybody had on their bingo card, including myself, is Leader got a point added to it. Went from a 6-2 to a 6-3. Not sure this will make Leader a thing. Problem with Leader, as it sits right now, is there's so few decks that exist out there where if you want the card that they're playing, the idea is to play Leader and get the card instead of just playing the card. So, not sure Leader still sees play. Spectrum got a slight shave off of her. She went from being a 6-7 to a 6-6. Spectrum's still gonna see play, still do everything that she does. Not sure this makes ongoing decks any better. Almost wish they would give this on reveal, give your ongoing cards +3. It's so weird that ongoing has so few things that make it viable. That was part of the problem with Leech itself, is the fact that you couldn't make a decently good ongoing deck to just battle the Leech. If every single card in your deck was ongoing, it was really hard for you to win in a lot of situations. And last but certainly not least, or maybe even least, is Grandmaster, which I don't even know, so I gotta bring it up here. Grandmaster went from a 2-0 to a 2-2. Everything still is the same. It shows something when you can add 2 power to a card and it still doesn't feel like it's doing anything. I'm not sure if this makes Grandmaster do anything at this point. I think Grandmaster has kind of proven that it doesn't matter what its power is. Now, I'm sure if you gave this like 274, it'd see play just as a 274. But even as a 2-2, is getting that power worth it? You're looking to have the effect go off, and I'm just not sure what you want as that honor reveal, which is sad because we just talked about how powerful honor reveals can be. The one that everybody keeps talking about is doing a Shang-Chi and then doing a Grandmaster. And while that's great, what happens when your opponent doesn't have a 10 power cost in the middle lane and they don't have a 10 power lost in the lane that you put the Shang-Chi in. It just boggles me if this card will see any point. And what really upsets me is for the longest time, I gave this card a really high rating because of the fact that to me, when I originally looked at this card, it looked like a Wong. If you look at Wong, it's basically an early game Wong if you were to read it right. Wong does multiple effects, but Grandmaster does it just one time. The thing about Wong is you can set it and forget it, where Grandmaster, you can't. So, those are all the official buffs and nerfs that have happened in this patch. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play for fun.